Season of Discovery Phase 4 is on the PTR, and there's a lot of changes being found, a lot of things being data mined, and a lot of clarifications even coming from the developers themselves. Now, if you've watched the channel for any length of time, you know I'm absolutely loving and living on Cataclysm. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be playing Season of Discovery. There's a few things I'm quite excited about, but I will be honest, it's primarily around Druid and a little bit of Rogue as well. But some of the development choices around Phase 4 do have me questioning how well it's going to be received. Firstly, we already know all the runes that we're going to be getting on our cloaks, and they're all pretty standard abilities that seem to have been missing from the toolkits up until this point. I wouldn't say anything is massively exciting, but if you haven't already seen the video I've put out covering all of the cloak runes, then check the video out in the description below. They're also adding ring runes where you can get things like extra defense or weapon skill with axes, swords, etc. Just a way to actually get some of those bonuses, which, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's really, really boring, and I would have rather have just got those from the gear. But it does seem to be their answer to the whole, well, it doesn't matter what race you are because there's other ways of getting weapon skill. But look, just my opinion, I think those ring runes are just really, really boring. We already knew Molten Core was going to be 20-man, but yes, it's confirmed as 20-man, and it looks like there's going to be multiple difficulties. These multiple difficulties seem to be spread out into heat levels, so heat level 1, heat level 2, and I'm assuming there's just a normal non-heat level anything sort of mode that you can do. Now, I know what I'm about to say is definitely going to split the audience in terms of whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. I personally think it's a good thing, providing it's implemented right. And what I mean by this is you should be able to get the same gear from the normal version as you can heat level 2, or heat level 3 or 4, or however many they decide to add. Because the whole point of Season of Discovery is the accessibility and the not needing to have a super hardcore guild to be able to clear content. But I would like to see these heat levels get things like cosmetics or titles or just something that you can show off. Even if you clear the highest heat level, everybody in the raid gets a mount. Something like that, where actually you're not being penalized for just doing the normal mode with your mates, like casual few beers on a Friday night, clearing Molten Core. You're getting the same loot as all the big super hardcore guilds. But if you want that mount or that title or that tabard or that transmog set, I don't know, like whatever they just throw in there, even though I know there's no transmog, but just something to wear when you're walking around Stormwind or something, I don't know, then you can get that from doing the highest heat level. What I hope doesn't happen is there's heat level 1 gear where it's got an extra few item level on it, and heat level 2 gear that's got another few item level on it, and now you either do the hardest difficulty or unlucky, there's kind of no point raiding. But overall, I do like the look of what they're doing with Molten Core, and it's a shame there's no 10-man version because I would be enjoying Season of Discovery so much more if it stayed to 10-man raiding. And I know that's because I like taking Season of Discovery very casual, because my main sort of progress raid or progress expansion or whatever you want to call it is Cataclysm, and it will then be MOP. But there was just something cool about just having the same 10 lads just getting together, clearing the content, getting our loot, and then coming back the next week. When you're going up to 20 people, that starts to get a bit more difficult in my opinion. But still, Molten Core does look quite interesting. Also, what looks interesting is the new set bonuses. I do love the fact that some of these hybrid specs are getting their own set bonuses. And while some people are complaining about how good some of them are, and I'm not going to sit here and go through them all now, as in each set and what they do, but just think yourself lucky. I think it's absolutely amazing that things like Arcane Mages are getting healing specific set bonuses for their tier 1. The same as Boom is getting their own set bonuses. Holy Paladin's getting theirs. It's just something like above and beyond what Blizzard needed to do. They could have just added real generic, boring set bonuses that will just do something for each spec, rather than tailoring it specifically to each role. I actually love it, and I think they've done a great job with the sets overall. There's been tons of balancing put on the PTR as well, and again, so much that it would just need a video on its own, but they really are trying to bring the classes in line for level 60 content. So you can see clear nerfs to warriors, you can see other classes getting quite substantially buffed, you can see other classes having runes changed from one slot to another. They've clearly put quite a lot of thought into how this is actually going to work at level 60. One of my favourite changes that's coming with Phase 4 is definitely the fact that the world bosses are now instanced. Now, what they've said for the longest time is about the whole classic feeling or vanilla feeling friction that they like to be there, And slowly, as we've gone through the phases, that's being removed. Now, I feel like one of the big parts of vanilla is all of the people trying to fight over tags for world bosses and anything in the open world, but they are having Kazakh and Azhagos as instanced world bosses, so everybody can do them each week, which I think is really good. Don't get me wrong, I think it's absolutely a great change for me personally, who's not that interested in the whole big hordes of people all trying to fight for a boss. But I know some people probably won't be a fan of that if they're those like vanilla purists, but really there should be no vanilla purists in Season of Discovery because it's completely different. One thing that really confused me was when they spoke about Onyxia, saying Onyxia is tuned for 20 people, but you can go and do it with 40. Now, I'm kind of hoping that's not a theme that's going to continue on, where things like AQ, Nax, BWL even is tuned for 20, but you can go in with 40. Now, unless I misunderstood that, apologies if I did, let me know in the comments, but that's what it looks like to me. Now, we know it's not going to be flexible, so we know that the more people in the raid does not make the boss more difficult. I just think that's really weird. Just have it tuned for 20 and you can only take 20 people in there. Why would you allow more? I don't really get it. They've also updated Hand of Ragnaros, so it's now got feral attack power on, and this is why I'm leveling a druid. No, that's not really why I'm leveling a druid, but that is really cool. Having the legendaries even look more advertising to more than one class. Also, STV is still going to be the PvP event, and if you're not that much of a fan of Incursions, you'll be pleased to know these are now turning into daily questing areas. Now, I'm kind of hoping that as daily questing areas, they still give a substantial amount of XP, so it's a really good way of being able to level ults, but without it being the laborious, boring grind that, well, it has been since it launched. Many people are saying, well, this is to help force people back out into the open world rather than just sitting in Incursions, but all they're going to do is move from Incursions into dungeon spam, if you ask me. Well, I mean, that's pretty much what I would do. Now, I'm not saying that's an extensive list of absolutely everything that's going on with Phase 4 at the moment, because there are things like all the updated loot from Skolo, Strat, and all the other dungeons like Dire Maul. There's some epic rings that have been data mined with things like giving extra energy for rogues and druids, which is really cool. Or even hunters getting their very own ring that increases the range of Mem Pet and increases its effect and that sort of thing. Like, there's some really cool items that are being data mined and found from the PTR almost daily. So I'm not going to be able to cover absolutely everything in this video, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a rundown of what is going on with Phase 4. And ultimately, am I excited for it? I mean, kind of am, as in I'm looking forward to experiencing Molten Core on whatever the hardest difficulty is going to be. But there are some things that I do question. And as I say, like the raid size thing around Onyxia is a big red flag for me personally, as in if that was to continue on where everything's going to be tuned for 20 man, but you can take up to 40. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I really hope that that's not the case and it was poor wording or I just didn't understand it, one or the other. That would be ideal for me. But if you enjoyed the video anyway, make sure you like and subscribe. Plenty more content coming for both Season of Discovery, Cataclysm, even into MOP, probably very soon. Not too soon, but soonish. I'll see you on the next one.